Bitcoin history is repeating right now because Bitcoin is again creating an upward sloping consolidation line. And the last time we had this, of course, we broke to the downside. Before that, also we broke to the downside. And right now, the same pattern is playing out. Keep in mind, in a bear market, we usually break to the downside, while if I go out back a bit in a bull market, we have these downward sloping consolidation lines where we eventually break to the upside. And right now, it looks like history is once again repeating for Bitcoin. If I go here to the liquidation heat map, what can we see? Well, like I discussed in the last few videos, we are building a lot of liquidity, or we still have, let's put it this way, we still have a lot of liquidity on the downside from people who are longing the markets. And how do I know people are longing the markets? Well, funding rates were mostly positive over the last couple of days and even 2-3 weeks. They were mostly positive, meaning of course most traders are longing the markets, and as people are longing the markets, their liquidation levels are of course below the current price, and this liquidation level is usually being grabbed. You can see this right here when most traders were shorting the market right here mid-April approximately. And let me show this to you. Funding rates negative in approximately April. This is when liquidity was being built up to the upside and we grabbed that liquidity. The same thing is happening right now. We are grabbing that liquidity and this is a target, right? And right now, most likely we'll go back to the $62,000 region and then eventually see a bounce from the $60,000 region. Grab also this liquidity before we analyze further the $60,000 region. Of course, if I go into the 4-weekly, is the bottom right here. It was the bottom for Bitcoin in the last big breakdown at around $60,000, just below $60,000. And if I look here, I can see basically somewhat of a bear flag that is being formed for Bitcoin. And right now, the bottom resistance, the support line here is acting as new resistance. We can see this right now, and you know what, this makes me believe that we might actually not go back all the way to the top. I have to reevaluate this on a day-to-day basis, see if we break through from here, because looking at the liquidation heat map, there's actually, relative to how much liquidity is below us, not that much liquidity on the upside here, which makes me believe we might not actually go all the way back to $67,000. I'll have to see what happens if we break up from here and find support, of course, meaning we break up, find new support and break to the upside. Yes, I think we can go there, but as it looks right now, we're just trading sideways here. This is basically just people who were shorting the markets, exiting their positions right now, pushing the price up slightly, but I still think we can get rejected from here and make a bigger move to the downside, grab that liquidity here and grab that liquidity here, which is of course at $62,000 and then eventually at $60,000 for Bitcoin, right? Now, I want to talk about the electrical cost for Bitcoin. And the electrical cost is basically the cost to mine Bitcoin. And usually we find a bottom for Bitcoin around about the point when the electrical cost is similar to what the Bitcoin price is, because it does not make sense for miners to mine Bitcoin for if what they're getting, the Bitcoin price is lower than the cost to mine Bitcoin. And that's when Bitcoin is being sold off, and usually find a bottom at these prices, right? And mining would not continue at this price. So this is acting as a natural floor for Bitcoin. And also, looking at this chart, this is basically just the RSI for Bitcoin. I believe this is on a like 3-month basis or something like that. This is on a larger time frame. We can basically see that usually we see a bottom also for Bitcoin when the RSI is really at these low levels for a sustained period of time. So right now, Bitcoin, yes, has very low RSI, very much oversold, and it is usually always being more oversold than the cycle before that. And we can see this right here for Bitcoin. If I go actually to let me go to the weekly, let me go to the monthly chart, we can see here we are approaching a bottom, and I believe we're going to be approaching a bottom somewhere in approximately October. Let me show this to you guys here on the monthly chart. Usually Bitcoin approaches a bottom 12 months from the high, and we can see this right here. From the high to the low, it took about 12 months. Yes, it took a bit longer here, but the last 2 cycles, 12 months, it took 365 days. Same thing playing out will bring us to October, which is where I think we'll find a bottom. Of course, the bottom, if I go here on the weekly chart and draw the Fibonacci extension line, which is just a mathematical tool, from the bottom, last cycle we bottomed at $15,000, approximately $15,600, and we had a peak, of course, at $126,000. The Fibonacci golden pocket will bring us to this low here. And this will bring us most likely to like the low $50,000 regions, but we can also go a bit lower to this level of previous trading activity in the low $40,000 region. We have to see how it plays out, but I think a next big move to the downside is imminent from here. And I want to talk about quickly STRC. STRC is a stable coin, and it is basically the main tool used by MicroStrategy to acquire, or it's one of the tools used by MicroStrategy to acquire more Bitcoin. It is usually at $100. That is the nominal value which it tries to keep. Right now it is at $88. It has majorly depegged from the $100, of course, that it was always trading at, giving 11% interest. Right now at the current price, interest is almost 13%. And how MicroStrategy is acquiring Bitcoin is that once the price pushes up, so if there's enough demand, price pushes above $100, they issue more of these shares of STRC, and the money that is raised with that Bitcoin is being bought. Right now, of course, in order to give this high interest rates, MicroStrategy might be forced to sell off more Bitcoin, which could be to raise these funds, right? Which could drop the price of Bitcoin even further. And because we are right now nowhere near $100, I don't expect them to be buying much Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is very much over leveraged, has a lot of debt, and I want to be seeing the price to go back to these levels. Definitely a risky investment in my opinion. Much better if you just buy Bitcoin directly rather than buying something which is pegged at $100 or has a target of $100 and gives you a high return, because this does not seem sustainable in my opinion and is very risky. Now looking here quickly at Bitcoin and the funding rates and the open interest. For example, in the last move when we saw Bitcoin move up from the lows of $60,000 to like $67,000, we had overall open interest dropping, which means people are exiting their contracts, and in my opinion this is people who were shorting the market. They're now exiting as of course the price moves against them. They're slowly being liquidated, and as they're exiting they're being forced to buy back positions, pushing the price of course up. But because open interest is down, this does not usually suggest that the trend does not continue. What I want to be seeing is price to be going up and open interest to be going up at the same time, so people keep buying new position or opening new positions, and this is a healthy uptrend. We can see open interest was very low over the last couple of days, and this suggests of course that this rally was not being sustained. Now on the move to the downside, this is in my opinion people who are longing the markets, of course, as Bitcoin goes against them, hitting their liquidation prices, and open interest continues to fall as their positions are being closed to the downside. I expect potentially we can go and retest the $60,000 region, which I have discussed right here, right? We can retest this $60,000 region, and this is of course a strong support level which we can bounce back to the upside from unless we break it. But I think we can see a strong bounce from here and grabbing all of that liquidity which I mentioned. And once we do, of course, open interest will see a big negative candle as a lot of people are being liquidated, contracts and positions are being closed, pushing open interest to the downside. Now I want to quickly discuss a theory on Iran. So Iran has about $7.8 billion in the cryptocurrency market, or let's say in Bitcoin, they have about $7.8 billion. It's not the official number, but these are the estimates. They have in 2019, the government legalized cryptocurrency mining under specific conditions, and they've been acquiring a lot of Bitcoin from that moment onwards. Right now, it is estimated that they have about 3 to 4% of global mining power just alone in Iran. And of course, as the war is coming to an end, well, if it does come to an end, there's a lot of damage that is in Iran, which has to be paid back. The US obviously does not want to pay all of these money to Iran. Iran might, this is a theory, might sell some Bitcoin, which might push us back further to the downside. I mentioned here, of course, that we have a target at the Fibonacci golden pocket, like in the low $50,000 region. I think if you buy somewhere in that region, you'll have a good entry point for Bitcoin. Let me quickly show you guys the RSI and a quick pattern. So we can see that usually in a Bitcoin bottom, the price is going down while the RSI is actually going to the upside. You can see right here, we're going to the upside, creating a bullish divergence, while in the peak, price is going up while the RSI is going to the downside, creating a bearish divergence. And right now we can essentially see that we're starting to form a bullish divergence. RSI is starting to climb back up, price is creating lower lows, and eventually this will reverse, and of course price will shoot back to the upside. And finally, the quick news from like a few minutes ago, the US denies Iran's claim to have closed the Strait of Hormuz over Israeli attacks in Lebanon. So let's see what's happening here, if the peace deal is actually being signed or not. But like I said, I think we can go a bit further down here, and we have to really look at this major level of resistance being built up on the top side, and of course these levels here, $65,000 approximately, and it's the weekend right now. Let's see on the next coming week what will happen, but I think we can see another push to the downside and continued moves to the downside here. And with that being said, see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and bye.